Hello and welcome back to the NHL Best Bets. Yesterday we picked two games. There were one um, total bet and another bet with winner of Florida. San Jose visited Anaheim. We predicted it will go clearly under 5.5 goal, and based on the statistics, that was a reasonably good prediction, but for whatever reason, both teams started to forget how to defend, and at the end, result was 4-5 after shootout, and there were a total close to the 70 shots given in this match. So total bet was wrong, but Florida, like we discussed in yesterday's video, bounced back nicely from their heartbroken loss from previous night and beat Nashville 2-1. Tommy, will these numbers that result showed here, did they represent clearly the games, how they went, or was there something that our prediction was correct, but game result was not?
Yeah, of course, I have to say about the California Derby that seeing both teams score 4 goals is quite unique. Anaheim hadn't scored four, not a single time this season, so now they managed to do that early on. Early on 3 goals, and then finally the fourth one in the end of the game to bring it to overtime. But of course, when you enter the third period leading 3-1 at home against one of your rivals, you can't give it up anymore. So Anaheim's defense completely collapsed in the third period and allowed San Jose then to score the goals to bring the game even. Actually, they led also already before the end. So kind of a game that was in the beginning as we expected. San Jose scored first, but only 1 goal in the first period. Anaheim came back 3 goals in the second one, but still looked like an under if they only could have kept their own end clean. But they were not able to do that. So quite a bad game. I think the pick was still good. Like I've said previously, I would make this bet another time with these odds. Certainly, that both teams are a lot better defensively than we saw, but this was a kind of a fluke from them, and I think that it will be some time before we see these teams score 4 or more goals in a game again. Let's see how it goes tonight. They will do a repetition, but now we have Devan Dubnyk in the goal, and probably let's see who plays for Anaheim. Then to go to Florida game, it was exactly as predicted. So Florida came rushing out from the gates after the previous loss. They shot 20 times in the first period towards Pekkarinen. However, Nashville was the team to score, so it even added up to this energy for Florida, and they came back in the second period, took a very narrow win. A good performance by Florida Panthers, who we know is quite capable offensively, but now they showed that they're able to also play good defense, stick to their lead like some other teams cannot do that, but they held on to 1 goal lead entering the third and got a really good victory over the Nashville Predators, and a good pick for us as well.
Yeah, I think this is somehow expected in these back-to-back games that if you are leading 2 goals in a few minutes before the end of the game and then you lose the game, next one you are energized and you are ready to go. And like you said, it was only reason of Pekkarine's nice catches that kept the score somehow even though Florida was a much better team in this matchup. Then we had a few other games last night, even though there were a few games postponed. So, like I said, LA visited Las Vegas, and they were in our numbers providing some value, but Vegas is so strong team that especially with the long rest, I think any team could come to the Vegas and return back to the lockers as a lost team. But how about other games? Did we find any value based on our simulations?
Yeah, there was actually Vegas game was the only one that we predicted to go the other way than it did. So we had Boston winning in Philadelphia with about 3% value there. So good away favorite actually, but good away pick there. Tampa Bay, of course, won Detroit again. Not a lot of value there, but still we got it as supposed to. Florida, like we said. And then San Jose as well, we had against Anaheim winning the game, although not on overtime after 5 goals scored. So that was a bit wrong. But we got the winners right, and we're in very good position overall in our season simulation so far, unlike our picks. So again, the machine beats the man quite easily here.
So what kind of numbers we have from the season simulations so far in different categories like side values, money lines, and totals?
Yeah, for the side value, we have 91 correct picks, 71 wrong. So winning percentage is 56%, and value is plus 472 so far. So about 160 picks, and profit is 472. So good going there. In the money line, so picking the winner, we're even better. 99 correct, 63 wrong, winning percentage 61%, and profit plus 781, which is remarkable. As I've said before, that usually it goes the other way around, but this time we've gotten the winner with good odds most of the time. And then in the over-under, we are a little bit in the minus after 111 picks. It's 55 correct, 56 wrong. But since the odds are always a little bit against us, our numbers are minus 120. So overall, really good results, and let's keep an eye out on this side value, how it goes. We should be able to get a little bit better numbers from there as well.
Yeah, I think reason why the money line is a bit better performing right now is that odds for those big favorites maybe have not followed up our projections, and there has been value for these big favorites that have been, let's say, covering these bets, like last night Tampa, good example, and previously also teams like Vegas and Colorado in the West that have been performing very strongly, and we have also predicted them to perform very strongly, and odds makers may not have had that cases. And then of course these 50-50 games when odds makers are predicting team to lose by 49% and we are predicting them to win by 51%, and that goes correct. That is something that plays to our wallet.
Yeah, that's the case, and let's hope that we get these underdogs as well getting on in our way, especially in the picks section.
That's correct, and we start to get these correct today, like we have discussed a few times before, but I think today is today with Saturday Night Fever. First in Islanders hosting Pittsburgh in Nassau Coliseum, where they're actually playing their home games again after being 4 or 5 years in Barclays Center and before getting new arena in Belmont Park. So this is a return to 70s when they got their 4 Stanley Cups, and I think some kind of a nostalgia trip back to the same arena. Pittsburgh wasn't very good team at those times in 70s, but it has been a bit better after it. Still, Islanders is basically 50-50 odds from the bookmakers, but our numbers show clear value there. And also historically, Islanders have been a pretty tough opponent at home for Pittsburgh. So when they have won, remember, 53% of their home games during the last 3 years against Pittsburgh, it's close to 60%. So that should be good matchup. for us. And then we also ride with Calgary's poor home performance. I think Calgary is only team in NHL that performs better on the road compared to home. And as their home win percentage is 50% compared to the road, that is 54%. And especially their first home game has been quite remarkably poor performance in history, and that is clearly under 50% of the games that they have been able to win. Vice versa, Edmonton, when they go to the road, their first game is the best one. So this is their first game on the road after, I think, 4 or even 5 games at home. And I think they are ready for this championship of Alberta game, and will take the clear win, driven by the dynamic center duo Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, who are leading the NHL points category in statistics quite clearly by scoring 24 points and 22 points in 12 games respectively.
Yeah, not much to say there. Edmonton, of course, finally got their game going in a couple of last games. The offense is heavy, like you said. Those two guys just unstoppable at the moment, and it's hard to see that Calgary returning home now. It's not been a happy place for them, and they are barely able to stop or contain the Edmonton offense. Even if Jacob Markstrom has played a little bit better than previously, we criticized him a little bit, but he's been okay for Calgary. So very good odds for Edmonton on the road in quite a close game, about 50-50 in the odds, but we have Edmonton as favorites about 52%. So every time you get this and you get the plus odds, it's worth a punt. So definitely Oilers should be able to take it. Let's see if we end up in the shootout again or similar. So follow up live again, ready to make some adjustments if needed. And then to the other game, New York Islanders against Pittsburgh Penguins. Islanders have played a bit bad on the road this season, only played 2 games at home, won both of them. In the history, like you said, Islanders really tough opponent for Penguins. Barry Trotz has been able to take one over Mike Sullivan in the bench as well. So in addition to that, Pittsburgh Penguins defense very, very injured. There is at least Brian Dumoulin, Marcus Peterson, and John Marino are out. Probably Chris Letang as well. So we have barely any NHL caliber defenders for Pittsburgh. So something to play in New York Islanders as well there. Of course, Islanders defensive team, difficult for Penguins to crack for sure. So I'm expecting Islanders to return to their winning ways after a couple of losses on the road.
Yeah, and as these both teams have been on the road for a while, Penguins have played 4 games on the road, and I think Islanders have played 5 games on the road, and they are now returning to the home. It would be interesting to see if their performance is following the trends that they have for the home games. For example, Islanders have been performing 54.2% winning percentage at home, and then their first home game winning percentage is almost 59%. So they have been very good team in their first home game. And at the same time, then when we take a look of Pittsburgh, let's say their long road trips. So when they are on the road, their win percentage is 46.8%, and then when they are playing 30 or more road game, it's 48. So the drop is not so much like in many other teams. Actually, they are playing better the longer road trips, but still the difference between the home performance and the road performance in Pittsburgh is quite significant, because their home win percentage during the last 3 seasons is over 62%, and that is one of the highest in NHL. And then when you go to the road and you are winning only less than 47%, it's something to keep in mind when they are on the road.
Yeah, and Islanders has been a really difficult opponent for Penguins in the past in both home and away. So it's a good pick for us to go for the Islanders. There are some other games as well for us to pick. We are gonna skip the taking the under again in the California, even if that's something that the simulations are indicating quite heavily still to go under 5.5 goals. Then we have a lot of these big favorites. Montreal going to Ottawa, now getting their revenge. They lost at home 3-2 2 nights ago, so now they are visiting Ottawa. They are heavy favorites by the odds, and even heavier in our simulations. Same goes to Toronto against Vancouver in Toronto. Toronto about 65% favorite in the odds, and our simulations indicate around 68%. So another clear favorite, but like we've said before, we try to pick a little bit bigger odds, a little bit longer odds, and try to base them in our simulations rather than taking these very, let's say, obvious choices that are the heavy favorites.
Yeah, and I think that is good to keep in mind in every sport when you are betting, that if you always pick these big favorites and you win maybe 8 out of 10, maybe it feels good that okay, I have been winning 8 out of 10 games and I have been profiting those. But if you lose 2 games and you calculate your overall profit out of those 10 games, usually you have been losing money in this 10 game span. I think this is a very clear example in Spanish soccer, when teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid are usually very low odds teams against any opponent, and if you bet them and then they anyhow lose few games here and there during the season, you are losing money at the end.
Yeah, it's usually the odds makers are pretty smart in that regard, that they know that these big teams are going to lose some, so they are setting the odds in a correct way in these heavily betted games, and especially for the favorites. So many times it is more profitable to bet on the heavy underdogs than the heavy favorites. But of course, again, we are using the simulation engine just to determine that, so we're only placing the bets that have value in the simulations, and we're not going any solo here to choose by our own. We try to pick the best ones, but we haven't been doing that well. But as long as the system works, I have my faith that in the end of the season we will be making some profit.
Let's see if man can beat the bookmaker with help of machine here, or is it only machine who is beating the bookmaker? Tonight's first game is Ottawa against Montreal, starting in 4 hours. So let's check that first and continue with all the other great games to see how much money we can make.
Yeah, it's going to be a full evening and full night of ice hockey, and then tomorrow, Super Bowl.
Yeah, good weekend for sports, for any sports fans in US and around the world.
See you tomorrow.